In this lesson, I'll be talking about 7-3 number sense. We've done number sense in the past. Remember that your number sense is when you use your logic and some critical thinking skills in order to determine some information about your answer. So today we're going to focus on two strategies. When you are thinking about number sense and trying to figure out where the decimal point should go in your answer, you can do one of two things. You can estimate, like we did in the previous lesson 7-2, or you can think about the size of the numbers that you have. Knowing a little bit of information about how big or small your dividend and your divisor is can help you understand how big or small your quotient should be. And we'll talk about these strategies more on the next few slides. First of all, let's look at an example where you use estimation to help solve a number sense problem. Let's say you had the problem 14.72 divided by 2.2, and you're told that the digits to your answer are 670 and that you need to place the decimal point in the correct spot. In order to figure out where my decimal point should go, I'm going to go ahead and estimate these numbers. 14.72 is close to 14, and 2.2 is close to 2. So I know that my answer should be somewhere around 7. In order to get my answer closest to 7, the decimal point would have to go right here in between the 6 and the 7. Let's look at another similar problem. Let's say we had the problem 144 thousandths divided by 1.2. And you were told that the digits of the answer are 1, 2, 0, but you need to place the decimal point. Let's go ahead and make an estimation in order to determine where our decimal point should go. I know that 1.2 is very close to 1, and to make things a little bit easier, I'm going to change 144 thousandths to 14 hundredths. 14 hundredths divided by 1 is just 14 hundredths, because anything divided by 1 is itself. So my estimate is 14 hundredths. So in order to make these digits closest to 14 hundredths, my decimal point would have to go here right before the 1. And we can also think about the size of our numbers to help us learn a bit more about the size of our quotient. So we talked a little bit about this yesterday. Usually when you divide, your answer gets smaller than whatever number you started with. The only exception when we're working with decimals is when the number after your division sign is less than 1. In this case, your answer is actually going to be a bigger number than what you started with, than that guy. Let's look at some examples for each of these situations so that it makes a bit more sense. The first example would be something like 12.2 divided by 6. I could estimate 12 divided by 6, which is 2. My answer is smaller than the number that I started with. 2 is less than 12. When my first number is less than 1, let's say we had 0.55, and I divide it by something greater than 1, like 6.2, we could estimate to 0.6 divided by 6. 6 tenths divided by 6 is 1/10. Again, my answer is smaller than the number that I started with. However, if you have something like 10 divided by 0.2, 10 divided by 2 is 5, but 5 times 0.2 would just be 1 whole. So I need to make this number 10 times bigger to get my final answer of 50. 50 is actually bigger than the number I started with, 10. Anytime, no matter if this first number is a whole number, greater than 1, or if it's a number less than 1, no matter what the first number is, when your divisor is less than 1, you're going to get an answer that's bigger than whatever number you started with. So that's kind of a trick and a tip that you can use when you're working with number sense. For example, if we had something like this, 48.4 divided by 0.22. You're given the numbers 220 as your answer, but you need to figure out where the decimal point goes. I know that since my number that comes after the division sign is less than 1, my answer is going to do the opposite of what answers normally do in a division problem. Normally our quotient's smaller than the number we started with, but this makes it become the opposite. So my answer should be greater than the number I started with, 48.4. The only place that I could put the decimal point here to make my answer greater than 48.4 would be right here at the end. So my answer would be 220 or 220.0. So that's how you could use number sense and what you know about the size of the numbers to help you figure out where to place that decimal point. Now you could also estimate for this as well to figure out where that decimal point goes. Again, we can here think about the size of our factors. I know that this is greater than 1 and this is greater than 1, so it's going to kind of follow our normal division rules, and my answer should be less than 9.84, but in this case that could be 3.07 or it could be 0.307. So now I need to estimate. So sometimes you're going to have to use more than one strategy in order to figure out where the decimal point goes. So let's go ahead and estimate. I'm going to make this second number a 3, and I'll make this 9.84 into a 9. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So this helps me recognize that while there are a couple places it could go based on the size of the factors, or I'm sorry, the numbers that should say, it makes the most sense to go right here because of our estimate. I want you to go ahead and try this problem, 75.15 divided by 15.12. The numbers of the answer are 497. I want you to use what you know about the size of the numbers or estimation in order to figure out where the decimal point goes. Good luck!